A Triad enforcer told me this story on his deathbed. He said Bruce Lee was the only man his boss ever feared. Hong Kong, 1971. Bruce Lee returned to make films. The Triads controlled the film industry. Uncle Fong, head of 14K Triad, sent message to Bruce's mother. Your son must meet me. Everyone told Bruce to refuse, to run, to bring bodyguards. The Triads were demanding tribute, demanding Bruce work in their films, demanding submission. Bruce came alone, walked into restaurants surrounded by 10 armed enforcers. Uncle Fong asked, "Are you brave or stupid?" Bruce's answer, "I'm respectful, but I won't pay tribute. I won't work as slave. I'm here to offer partnership." What happened in the next 20 minutes changed Hong Kong film industry, changed Triad operations, made gangsters into Bruce's protectors. This is that meeting, that negotiation, that transformation, told by the enforcer who was in the room. Queen Mary Hospital, Hong Kong, March 1st, 2019. The private room on the 7th floor was quiet except for the steady beep of monitors and the hiss of oxygen flowing through plastic tubes. Chun Wei-hon lay in a hospital bed, looking smaller than he'd been in life. 78 years old. Terminal lung cancer. The doctors had given him 2 weeks. Maybe 3 if he was lucky. But Chun didn't feel lucky. He felt tired. Ready. He'd lived long enough. Done terrible things. Hurt people who didn't deserve it. Destroyed lives in service to men who paid him to be their weapon. 50 years as Triad enforcer and lieutenant. 50 years of violence and intimidation and crimes he couldn't undo. But before he died, Chun wanted to tell one story. One story that might mean something good, might teach something valuable, might partially redeem a life spent in darkness by bringing one truth into light. He called Raymond Wong 3 days ago. Raymond was crime reporter for South China Morning Post, had covered organized crime in Hong Kong for 20 years, had interviewed Chun twice before, once in 2005 when Chun had retired from active Triad work, once in 2012 when Chun had published memoir about life in 14K organization. Raymond was journalist Chun trusted, journalist who wouldn't sensationalize, who would report truth accurately, who would understand the importance of what Chun was about to share. Raymond arrived at 3 p.m. carrying digital recorder and notebook. He was 45 years old, lean, sharp eyes, professional demeanor that put interview subjects at ease. He'd spent 2 decades getting criminals to talk to him, getting them to trust him, getting them to share stories they'd kept hidden for years. His reputation was built on accuracy and discretion. When Raymond published story, sources knew he'd reported it exactly as told. No embellishment, no distortion, just truth. Raymond set up his equipment. Chun, thank you for calling me. You said you have important story. About Bruce Lee. I'm ready when you are. Chun nodded weakly, adjusted the oxygen tubes in his nose, took shallow breath. His voice was rough from decades of smoking, weak from cancer eating his lungs. But his mind was clear, his memory was sharp, and he was ready to tell the truth he'd carried for 48 years. I'm dying, Chun began. 2 weeks maybe. Doctor says cancer has spread everywhere. Nothing they can do except manage pain. I've made peace with that. I've lived longer than I deserved, done things that should have gotten me killed many times over. But I'm still here. And before I go, I want to tell you about the night Bruce Lee walked in a Golden Dragon restaurant to meet my boss, about the negotiation that followed, about how Bruce turned potential enemy into lifelong protector. This story needs to be told, needs to be recorded, needs to be understood before everyone who was there is dead. Raymond's recorder was running. He took notes while Chun talked. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Why did Bruce meet with your boss? What was the context? Chun shifted in his bed, winced from pain. Continued. You have to understand Hong Kong film industry in 1971. Triads controlled everything. Distribution, exhibition, financing, protection. If you wanted to make films in Hong Kong, you dealt with us. Shaw Brothers paid tribute. Golden Harvest paid tribute. Every studio, every producer, every actor who made significant money. Everyone paid. It was system. It was how business worked. The Triads provided services, made sure films got distributed, made sure theaters showed them, made sure competitors didn't sabotage you, made sure unions didn't strike. In return, we took percentage, protection money, tribute, whatever you want to call it. It was price of doing business. Raymond asked, and Bruce Lee refused to pay? Not exactly, Chun said. Bruce hadn't refused yet. He'd just returned to Hong Kong from America. Been gone for years. Made some name in American television. Green Hornet, some guest appearances. But he wasn't big star yet. Golden Harvest signed him to make films. Low-budget action films. First one was called The Big Boss. Bruce was supposed to be supporting actor, but director gave him lead role. Filming was starting in September 1971, and that's when Uncle Fong took interest. Uncle Fong was your boss? Fong Daoming. We called him Uncle Fong out of respect. He was head of 14K operations in Kowloon. 60 years old in 1971. Had been with Triads for 40 years. Built empire on gambling, protection, film industry control. Owned restaurants, nightclubs, legitimate businesses that laundered money from illegal operations. He was powerful, respected, feared. If you did business in his territory, you paid him tribute or you worked for him exclusively. Those were the only options. Chun paused, coughed. The cough sounded wet and painful. He took a minute to recover. Continued. Uncle Fong saw opportunity with Bruce Lee. New actor making films for Golden Harvest. If Bruce's film succeeded, he'd make money. Uncle Fong wanted percentage of that money. Standard operating procedure. He sent letter to Bruce's mother. Grayso. She lived in Hong Kong. Bruce was supporting her, taking care of her. Uncle Fong knew that. Knew Bruce would respond to message sent through his mother. What did the letter say? It was polite, respectful, but unmistakably order, not invitation. It said, Uncle Fong requests the honor of meeting with your son Bruce. The Golden Dragon Restaurant. September 18th, 1971. 7 p.m. Come alone. That was it. Short message. Clear meaning. Bruce needed to meet Uncle Fong. Needed to discuss how their business relationship would work. Needed to show respect by appearing. Raymond wrote quickly. How did Bruce react? Chun smiled slightly despite the pain. I wasn't there when he got the message, but I heard later from people who were. Bruce's friends and colleagues told him not to go. Told him to refuse. Told him to leave Hong Kong if he had to. Raymond Chow from Golden Harvest warned him this was dangerous. That Triads were demanding tribute or exclusive contract. That Bruce would either submit or face consequences. Some people told him if he must go, bring bodyguards. Bring security. Bring lawyers. Don't go alone into a room full of gangsters. That's suicide. But Bruce went alone. He went alone. Chun confirmed. And that's where the story really begins. Because I was there. I was one of 10 enforcers Uncle Fong brought to that meeting. I saw everything that happened. Heard every word. Witnessed negotiation that changed everything. And I've kept it secret for 48 years because Uncle Fong valued privacy, valued discretion, valued face. If I'd told this story while he lived, I'd have violated oath, violated loyalty, suffered consequences. But Uncle Fong died in 2003, 16 years ago. Bruce died in 1973, 46 years ago. Everyone directly involved is gone except me. And I'm dying, so I can speak, can tell truth, can honor Bruce by sharing what he did. Raymond leaned forward. Tell me about the meeting. Everything you remember. Chun closed his eyes, remembering. When he spoke, his voice was stronger, more animated. The memory giving him energy that his dying body couldn't provide. September 16th, 1971. Uncle Fong called meeting. 10 of us. His most trusted enforcers. I'd been with him 8 years at that point. Since 1963. Worked my way up from street soldier to lieutenant. I was 30 years old. Strong. Experienced. Loyal. Uncle Fong trusted me with important assignments. Being at this meeting meant I was part of his inner circle. Chun continued. Uncle Fong told us, Bruce Lee is making films for Golden Harvest. He's becoming star. He needs to understand how business works in Hong Kong. He needs to show respect, pay tribute, or work in our films under our contracts. I'm inviting him to dinner. We'll discuss his options. I want you there to show him we're serious. To show him this isn't negotiation, it's instruction. He submits or he suffers consequences. Understood. We all understood. This was standard procedure. Actor makes money. Triad's demand cut. Actor pays or actor faces problems. Career destruction. Violence. Whatever it takes to establish control. Did you expect Bruce to submit? Everyone expected Bruce to submit, Chen said, or not show up at all. Those are the two likely outcomes. Either he'd come to the meeting, see 10 enforcers, understand the situation, and agree to Uncle Feng's terms. Or he'd refuse to come, leave Hong Kong, abandon his film career rather than pay tribute. What we didn't expect, what nobody expected, was what actually happened. Bruce came, alone, and he negotiated, as equal, proposed partnership instead of accepting domination. That shocked all of us, including Uncle Feng. Raymond asked, "Tell me about the restaurant, the setting. What was the atmosphere?" Chen described it, Golden Dragon Restaurant in Kowloon. Uncle Feng owned it, used it for business meetings. Normal customers in front dining room. Private room in back for Triad business. Round table, 12 chairs. Very traditional. Red and gold decorations. Expensive. The kind of place that showed wealth and power. Uncle Feng sat at head of table. We 10 enforcers positioned around the room. Some sitting, some standing, all armed, all ready for violence if necessary. We expected Bruce to bring security. Expected some show of force. Expected negotiation through intermediaries maybe. What we got was Bruce Lee walking in alone at 7:05 wearing simple clothes. No bodyguards. No lawyers. No entourage. Just Bruce. Chen's voice showed lingering amazement even 48 years later. I remember thinking, he's either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Walking alone into a room full of armed gangsters. Either he doesn't understand the danger or he understands perfectly and came anyway. I couldn't tell which, but I was impressed. Whatever else Bruce was, he had courage. That much was obvious. How did Uncle Feng react? Uncle Feng was surprised. I could see it on his face, even though he tried to hide it. Bruce entered the room, looked around calmly, saw all of us, saw the weapons we weren't trying to hide, saw the setup. Uncle Feng at head of table, enforcers surrounding him, clear power display. Bruce processed all of that in maybe 3 seconds. Then he walked to Uncle Feng, bowed respectfully, traditional bow, proper form, and he addressed Uncle Feng using correct honorific. Showed he understood Chinese culture. Showed he respected tradition. That immediately changed the dynamic. Bruce wasn't American-born Chinese who'd forgotten his culture. He was a Chinese man who understood tradition and was showing proper respect. Chen described Bruce's greeting. Bruce said, "Uncle Feng, thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to meet you. I've heard of your reputation and your contributions to our community. I came alone because this is a meeting between honorable men. Bringing guards would insult you, would suggest I don't trust your word. I trust that Uncle Feng is man of honor who respects face and tradition. I'm here to discuss how we can work together to mutual benefit." That opening, respectful but not submissive, honoring tradition while asserting equality, that set tone for everything that followed. How did Uncle Feng respond? Uncle Feng studied Bruce for a long moment. Then he smiled slightly. Not warm smile, evaluative smile. He said, "You came alone, either very brave or very stupid. Which are you, Mr. Lee?" Bruce answered immediately. "I'm respectful. I understand power. I understand tradition. But I'm also realistic. I came alone because I'm not here to fight. I'm here to talk, to find solution that honors both of us. If I brought guards, this meeting starts with confrontation. I brought nothing but respect and proposal. That's brave, not stupid. Stupid would be ignoring your invitation. Brave is accepting it and trusting we can reach agreement." Chen shook his head slowly. In 8 years with Uncle Feng, I'd seen hundreds of negotiations. Businessmen paying tribute. Actors signing contracts. People submitting to Uncle Feng's terms because they had no choice. I'd never seen anyone walk into that room and immediately establish themselves as equal. Bruce did it in 90 seconds. Through respect, yes, but also through confidence. Through understanding that Uncle Feng valued face and tradition. Through offering partnership instead of waiting to be dominated. That was strategic genius. Raymond was writing furiously. What happened next? Did Uncle Fong accept the partnership frame, or did he reassert dominance? Chen's expression grew thoughtful. Uncle Fong did both. He acknowledged Bruce's courage and respect, but he also made clear that respect alone wasn't enough. He said, "Mr. Li, you speak well. You show proper respect. I appreciate that. But respect doesn't change reality. Reality is this. You're making films in Hong Kong, making money in my territory. Everyone who makes money here pays tribute, shows respect through contribution, or they work for me exclusively under contracts I control. Those are the options. Everyone accepts this. Chambre d'esprit, Golden Harvest P. Every actor who makes significant money pays. This is how business works. This is tradition. So I ask you directly, which option do you choose? Tribute or contract?" Chun continued. Bruce was silent for a moment. You could see him thinking, calculating, understanding that this was the critical moment. How he responded would determine everything. He could submit, agree to pay tribute, accept Uncle Feng's dominance, become just another asset. He could refuse, insult Uncle Feng, create enemy, probably get beaten or worse. Or he could do what he actually did, propose third option that Uncle Feng hadn't offered. Bruce said, "Uncle Feng, I understand tradition. I respect it, but I can't choose either option you've offered. I won't pay tribute for privilege of working. That reduces me to tenant on land I don't own. And I won't sign exclusive contract that makes me property. That reduces me to slave. Neither option honors my dignity or my capability. So I'm here to propose third option. Partnership." How did Uncle Feng react to that? Uncle Feng's face hardened. His voice got cold. He said, "Partnership? You think you negotiate with me? You think you have power here? Look around this room, Mr. Li. I have 10 men, all armed, all loyal, all ready to enforce my will. I have 100 more outside. I control distribution in Hong Kong. I control theaters. I control financing. I control everything you need to make films here. You have nothing. You offer me nothing. You're a small actor from America who thinks television fame means something in Hong Kong. It means nothing. I decide if you work here. I decide the terms. You don't propose partnerships. You accept terms or you leave. Those are your options. Choose now." Chun paused, took labored breath. I thought that would be the end of it. Thought Bruce would either submit or leave. Thought Uncle Feng had reasserted dominance effectively. But Bruce didn't submit, didn't leave. He stayed calm, stayed respectful, but he also stayed firm. He said, "With deepest respect, Uncle Feng, you're wrong about what I have to offer. You're wrong about what I can give you. And I'm offering it freely if we can reach agreement that honors both of us." What did he claim to offer? Chen's voice showed the same surprise he'd felt 48 years earlier. Bruce said, "I have success. Real success. International success. Your films make money in Hong Kong and Taiwan. Very good money. You should be proud. But my films will make money everywhere. America, Europe, all of Asia. I'll make you rich beyond what you've imagined. I'll make your name synonymous with biggest films in Asian history. I'll give you prestige and profit that tribute money could never provide. But only if I'm partner, not slave. Only if I make films my way with my vision and my artistic control. Try to control me through contracts and you get mediocre films that make mediocre money. I'll do adequate work because I'm professional, but not great work. Great work requires freedom, requires passion, requires ownership. Partner with me. Give me creative freedom. Protect my productions. Share in profits as genuine partner. And you get empire. You get wealth. You get respect from other Triad leaders who see you backed, right person. You get face that tribute can't buy. That's what I'm offering. That's what you're rejecting if you insist on domination instead of partnership." Raymond looked up from his notes. "That's incredible pitch. Did Uncle Feng buy it?" "Not immediately," Chun said. Uncle Feng was skeptical. He said, "Big words, Mr. Li. Ambitious claims. How do I know you can deliver? How do I know you're not just television actor with delusions of grandeur? How do I know your films will succeed when so many others fail? You're asking me to trust you, to invest in you, to give you freedom that I give no one. Why should I believe you can deliver what you promise?" Bruce's answer was simple but powerful. He said, "You don't know. That's why this is negotiation. That's why this is risk. I'm asking you to trust my ability, to invest in my success, knowing that my success becomes your success. That's partnership. That's different from tribute. Tribute is taking what already exists, taking percentage of current success. Partnership is creating something bigger together, creating success that wouldn't exist without collaboration. I'm not asking you to trust blindly. I'm asking you to recognize potential, to see that controlling me gets you small guaranteed return. Partnering with me gets you potentially massive return. That's gamble, yes, but calculated gamble. And if you're a businessman, which you clearly are, you understand that biggest returns come from calculated risks, not from safe exploitation of existing assets." Chun smiled despite his pain. That argument worked. I could see Uncle Feng's expression changing, see him calculating, see him recognizing that Bruce was offering something valuable, something different from standard tribute arrangement. Uncle Feng said, "You argue well. You think strategically. I respect that. But words are easy. Anyone can make promises. Anyone can claim they'll make me rich. I need to know if you're a man of substance, if you can back your words with strength, if you have character that justifies trust." Wu, test him. Who was Wu? Wu was one of our best fighters, Chen explained. 6'2", 200 pounds, former kickboxer, trained in multiple martial arts. Wu had been with Uncle Feng for 12 years, was senior enforcer, was man Uncle Feng trusted for serious violence. When Uncle Feng said, "Test him," he meant test Bruce's fighting ability. Test whether Bruce could back his confident words with actual skill. See if Bruce was really martial artist or just actor who played one on television. If Bruce failed, if Wu dominated him, then Bruce's credibility would be destroyed. His negotiation would collapse. He'd have to submit or leave. If Bruce succeeded, if he could match Wu, then Uncle Feng would take him seriously, would consider a partnership possibility. Everything depended on next 60 seconds. Raymond leaned forward. What happened when they fought? Chen's eyes grew distant. Remembering, Wu stepped forward, took fighting stance, professional stance, experienced fighter stance. Wu wasn't trying to intimidate, wasn't playing games. He was genuinely testing Bruce. Wanted to see if Bruce had real skill or was all reputation. Bruce stood up from the table. Didn't take formal stance. Just stood naturally, relaxed but ready. No fear on his face. No tension in his body. Just calm awareness. That impressed me. Most people facing Wu would show nervousness, would show adrenaline. Bruce showed nothing but focus. Chun continued. Wu attacked first. Jab. Testing Bruce's reactions. First yap. Good technique. Bruce moved his head slightly. Maybe 2 inches. Jab missed. Wu threw combination. Jab, cross, hook. Good professional combination. Power and speed. Bruce blocked first 2. Slipped third. Made it look easy. Made Wu look slow, even though Wu wasn't slow. Then Bruce countered. Single punch to Wu's midsection. Not full power. This was demonstration, not real fight, but enough. Wu doubled over slightly. Enough to show Bruce could have hurt him if he'd wanted to. Then Bruce kicked. Low kick to Wu's lead leg. Same technique I'd seen in some kung fu styles, but executed with incredible speed and precision. Wu's leg buckled. His stance broke. And then Bruce was behind him. Had moved so fast I couldn't track the movement. 1 second Bruce was in front of Wu. Next second, he was behind him with hand positioned at Wu's neck, where killing strike would land. 15 seconds. Maybe less. Fight was over. How did Wu react? Wu was shocked, embarrassed, defeated. But Bruce didn't humiliate him. That's what I remember most clearly. Bruce could have made Wu look foolish, could have struck him harder, could have thrown him, could have done flashy techniques that would have destroyed Wu's reputation. Instead, Bruce stepped back, offered hand to Wu, helped him resettle his stance. And he said, I remember the exact words, "You're skilled fighter, good technique, good power. Thank you for the test." In real fight, either of us could win depending on circumstances. But this wasn't real fight. This was demonstration. I hope I demonstrated that I'm serious martial artist, not just actor. No disrespect intended to you or your skill. That graciousness, that respect for defeated opponent. That impressed Uncle Fong more than the fighting skill did. Chen's voice grew reflective. Uncle Fong stood up, walked to Bruce, studied him closely. Then he said, I've seen many fighters in my 40 years. Strong men, skilled men, violent men. You're different. Not just skilled, controlled, respectful even in victory. You honored Wu instead of humiliating him. That's rare. That suggests character. Suggests you might be man worth negotiating with. Sit down, Mr. Li. Let's discuss your partnership proposal in detail. Raymond was recording everything, so the fight convinced Uncle Fong. The fight proved Bruce wasn't bluffing, Chen clarified. Proved he had real martial arts skill. But more importantly, the way Bruce handled victory, with respect and grace, that proved he had character. Uncle Fong valued character. Valued honor. Valued keeping your word. He'd seen too many skilled fighters who were dishonorable men, who won fights but couldn't be trusted. Bruce demonstrated skill and character together. That combination made Uncle Fong willing to actually negotiate. Chen shifted in his bed. Continued. They sat back down at the table. Uncle Fong said, Specifically, what are you proposing, Mr. Li? What partnership do you envision? Bruce laid out his terms clearly. He said, I make films for Golden Harvest. You don't interfere with production. Don't demand script changes. Don't insert your actors into my films. Don't control creative decisions. You provide distribution protection. Make sure my films get shown. Make sure theaters treat them properly. Make sure I'm not sabotaged by competitors or rival triads. Make sure my productions run smoothly without interference. In return, you get percentage of profits, not tribute based on my labor. Partnership percentage based on mutual success. I succeed, you profit. Aligned interests. True partnership. What percentage did Bruce offer? 20% of his profit share from films. Uncle Fong asked that immediately. What percentage? Bruce said, 20% of my net profit from each film. Fair partnership rate. You do real work, protection, distribution security, you earn real money. This isn't charity. This isn't me paying you to leave me alone. This is genuine partnership where you provide valuable services and I compensate you fairly for those services. Uncle Fong calculated quickly. 20% of successful film could be more than tribute from 10 actors. If Bruce's films became hits like he claimed, 20% could be substantial money, more than exploitation model would generate. Chen paused, coughed, recovered. But Uncle Fong wasn't convinced by profit alone. He asked the critical question, what stops you from leaving Hong Kong once you're successful? What stops you from taking your profits to America and abandoning our agreement? What guarantee do I have that you'll honor this partnership long-term? Bruce's answer was perfect. He said, my family. My mother lives here. My roots are here. My honor is here. I'm not asking you to trust blindly. I'm asking you to trust that man who values family and honor won't betray agreement that protects both. Also, practically, I need Hong Kong's success to launch international career. I need Asia as foundation. My plan is to become star in Hong Kong first, then use that success to break into American films, then leverage American success to become international star. Every step requires the previous step. Abandoning you abandons my own interests. Partnership works because it serves both of us. You profit from my success. I need your protection to achieve that success. Mutual dependence creates mutual trust. Raymond asked, did Uncle Fong buy that argument? Uncle Fong tested it, Chen said. He asked, you defeated Wu easily. Showed considerable skill. But skill isn't character. Why should I trust you? Why should I believe you'll honor agreement when you're famous and don't need me anymore? When you could break partnership without consequences because you're too big to threaten? Bruce's answer was about legacy. He said, because dishonor destroys more than careers. It destroys legacy. I'm not just building film career. I'm building representation. Dignity for Chinese people in cinema. Showing Western world we're not stereotypes. We're not villains or servants or comic relief. We're heroes. We're complex human beings. That mission requires integrity. Requires keeping my word. Requires being man of character. If I break agreement with you, if I betray partnership for convenience, I prove I'm just opportunist. I undermine everything I'm trying to build. You're not just business partner. You're part of foundation. You're part of proof that I can be trusted. That Chinese man can negotiate honorably. That our word means something. I keep my word to you because my word is my foundation. Break that, and everything collapses. Chen's voice was quiet now. Emotional. That answer, that understanding that character is everything, that convinced Uncle Foam. He stood up, extended his hand. He said, I accept. 20% partnership. You make films your way. I provide distribution protection. We both profit. But understand this clearly, agreement is binding. Sacred. You break it, you don't just lose money. You lose everything. Family, career, life. Agreement is sealed in blood, even if blood isn't spilled today. You accept those terms. Bruce stood, took Uncle Feng's hand, said, I understand. I accept. Agreement is sealed. I'll honor it with my life. Chen closed his eyes. They shook hands. In that moment, everything changed. Uncle Feng made decision that shaped next 2 years and beyond. Made decision to trust, to partner, to invest in Bruce rather than dominate him. And Bruce made commitment to honor that trust, to keep his word no matter what success came. Both men took risk. Both men showed courage. But together they created something that benefited both. That's what I witnessed. That's what changed everything. Raymond checked his recorder. Still running. What happened after Bruce left? What did Uncle Feng say to you and the other enforcers? Chen opened his eyes. After Bruce left, walking out alive and free with partnership agreement instead of submission or violence, Uncle Feng told us something I never forgot. He said, that man is dangerous. Not because he fights well, because he thinks well. He turned trap into opportunity, turned threat into alliance, turned potential war into potential empire. Watch him carefully, protect him zealously. He's our investment now, our partner. Anyone who threatens him threatens us. Anyone who sabotages his productions sabotages our interests. I want full protection for Bruce Lee and his projects. No half measures. Treat him like he's my son, because his success is our success. And I genuinely believe, he's going to succeed beyond what any of us can imagine. Did you believe it at the time? Chen smiled weakly. Not completely. I thought Uncle Feng was taking big risk. Thought Bruce was talented but unproven. Thought partnership might fail and Uncle Feng would look foolish for trusting actor instead of dominating him. But I was wrong. Bruce proved everything he promised, delivered everything he claimed, and more, much more. Within 6 months, Uncle Feng's decision looked like strategic genius. But I'm getting ahead of the story. That comes next. First came the testing period. First came proof that Bruce kept his word. The monitors beeped steadily. Chen was tiring. Raymond could see it. Do you need a rest? We can continue tomorrow. Chen shook his head. No, I want to finish. I want to tell the whole story today, before I'm too weak. Please, let me continue. Raymond nodded. Tell me what happened after the meeting. How did the partnership develop? Chen took shallow breath. Continued. His voice was weaker but determined. 1 week later, Uncle Feng summoned me and 2 other enforcers. Told us we had new assignment. Full-time protection for Bruce Lee's film production. The big boss was starting filming. Location shooting in Thailand. Uncle Feng said, I want you 3 on that production. Not visible, not interfering, not disrupting creative work. Just watching. Making sure no accidents happen. Making sure no sabotage occurs. Making sure Bruce can work without problems. He's our partner now. We protect partners like we protect family. Understood. We understood. We flew to Thailand. Stayed near the production. Watched from distance. Made sure everything ran smoothly. Did anything happen that required your intervention? Not in Thailand, Chen said. Production went smoothly. Bruce worked incredibly hard. 12, 14-hour days. Doing his own stunts. Choreographing fights. Working with director. He was professional. Dedicated. Focused. Everything Uncle Feng hoped. But when production returned to Hong Kong for post-production and additional shooting, that's when the test came. That's when partnership was challenged. Chen's voice grew stronger with the memory. Rival Triad Foxchen. Sun Yan. They controlled different territories in Hong Kong, had their own film industry interests. When they heard Bruce had made partnership with Uncle Fong, instead of paying tribute, they saw opportunity. Saw a chance to challenge Uncle Feng's authority, to show he was getting soft, getting weak. They sent men to the studio where Bruce was doing post-production work. 6 men, armed. They confronted Bruce directly. Told him, "You think Uncle Fong protects all of Hong Kong? He doesn't. You're working in our territory now. You want to work here? You pay us tribute too. Doesn't matter what arrangement you have with 14K. We control this area. You pay us or your film doesn't get finished." How did Bruce react? Bruce stayed calm. Told them he'd honored his agreement with Uncle Fong, that he'd negotiate with them if Uncle Fong approved it. But he wouldn't make new agreement without consulting his partner first. That showed loyalty, showed respect for partnership. But Sun Yeon men weren't there to negotiate. They were there to intimidate, to force payment. One of them grabbed Bruce, tried to physically threaten him. That was a mistake. Bruce defended himself, put the man on the ground. Not hurt badly, just controlled. Neutralized threat without causing serious injury. Other 5 men drew weapons. Escalated situation. That's when I intervened. Chen's voice showed satisfaction. My team had been watching. Saw Sun Yi on confrontation developing. Moved in immediately. 6 of their men. 3 of us. But we had authority of Uncle Fong behind us. I told them, "You're threatening 14K investment. You're challenging agreement Uncle Fong made personally. You want to do that? Fine." This becomes war between Sun Yi-on and 14K. Over one actor. Over tribute that isn't yours to demand. You ready for that war? Ready to explain to your bosses that you started major gang conflict over your ego? Or do you walk away now and we all forget this happened? They walked away. They weren't stupid. They weren't ready for gang war. And I reported the incident to Uncle Fong immediately. What did Uncle Fong do? Uncle Fong made calls. High-level calls. Spoke to Sun Yi on leadership. Made clear that Bruce Lee was under 14K protection. That any interference with Bruce or his productions would be considered act of war. That partnership wasn't sign of weakness. It was strategic decision that was already proving profitable. That Sun Yi-on could either respect the arrangement or face consequences. Sun Yi-on backed down. Formally, publicly, acknowledged that Bruce was 14K partner and therefore untouchable by other factions. That sent message throughout Hong Kong organized crime. Bruce Lee was protected. Don't touch him. Don't threaten him. Don't interfere with his work. He's partnered with Uncle Fong, and Uncle Fong protects his own. Raymond was riveted. So the protection was real. Not just words. Protection was absolute, Chun confirmed. From September 1971 until Bruce's death in July 1973, no one in Hong Kong dared threaten him. No sabotage. No intimidación. No violence. Because everyone knew Uncle Fong had made personal commitment to protect Bruce. And Uncle Fong kept his commitments. Always. That protection was worth more than money. It was worth more than tribute could have bought. It meant Bruce could work freely, could create without fear, could build his career without looking over his shoulder. That's what partnership gave him. That's what his negotiation achieved. Freedom through alliance rather than submission through domination. Chun paused. Breathing was more labored now. Pain was increasing. But he continued. And Bruce kept his word too. Kept every promise. Big Boss released October 1971. Broke every box office record in Hong Kong history. Made more money than any Hong Kong film had ever made. Uncle Feng's 20% share was more than years' worth of tribute from 10 actors. More than he'd ever made from single film investment. Partnership was vindicated financially within 2 months. Within 2 months, Uncle Feng's decision to trust Bruce instead of dominate him looked brilliant. Looked like strategic genius that other Triad leaders should emulate. How did Uncle Fong react to that success? Chun smiled at the memory. Uncle Fong was pleased. More than pleased. He was proud. I remember him calling meeting with all his senior lieutenants. He told us, Bruce Lee delivered everything he promised. Made record-breaking film. Made us substantial profit. Made our organization look smart instead of greedy. Other Triad bosses are asking me how I identified talent like Bruce before anyone else. How I had wisdom to partner instead of exploit. That's face. That's prestige. That's what smart business creates. Uncle Fong raised his glass, toasted Bruce, said, to partners who keep their word, to investments that exceed expectations, to Bruce Lee, who showed us that sometimes wisdom is more profitable than force. Chun continued, but it wasn't just about money for Uncle Fong. It was about vindication of his judgment, about proving that his approach, partnership with talented people rather than pure exploitation, could work, could create more value, could elevate his status among other Triad leaders. Uncle Fong started treating Bruce differently after Big Boss succeeded, started inviting him to private dinners, not business meetings, social occasions, getting to know him as person, not just as investment. Bruce accepted these invitations gracefully, never advertised Triad connection publicly, never used it to intimidate others, never acted like he was untouchable, just quietly maintained respectful relationship with Uncle Fong while building his career. Raymond asked, did they become genuine friends, or was it always business? Chen thought about that. Complicated question. Uncle Fong was gangster, didn't have friends in conventional sense, had allies, had subordinates, had investments. But Bruce was something different. Uncle Fong respected him, genuinely respected him, respected his skill, yes, but more than that, respected his character, respected that Bruce kept his word even when success came, even when he didn't need Uncle Fang's protection anymore, because his fame made him valuable to everyone. Bruce stayed loyal to partnership, sent gifts on traditional holidays, invited Uncle Fong to private film premieres, consulted him on business decisions affecting Hong Kong, treated him with respect that acknowledged partnership without making it public. That meant something to Uncle Fong. Meant Bruce valued their relationship beyond mere utility. Chen's voice grew softer, more emotional. I watched their relationship develop over 2 years. March 1972, Fist of Fury released. Even bigger success than Big Boss. Massive international hit. Bruce became superstar overnight. Could have broken partnership at that point. Could have left Hong Kong. Could have abandoned Uncle Fong and suffered no consequences because his fame made him too valuable to touch. But Bruce didn't leave, didn't break agreement, kept sending Uncle Fong his percentage, kept maintaining relationship. That wasn't obligation by then. That was choice. That was honor. Uncle Fong recognized that, valued that more than the money. Told me once, Bruce Lee could abandon me tomorrow and I couldn't touch him without destroying my own reputation. But he doesn't abandon me. He honors our agreement because his word matters to him. That's character. That's what separates honorable men from opportunists. Raymond was absorbed in the story. What happened when Bruce made Enter the Dragon? His Hollywood film. Chen nodded. July 1972, Bruce signed with Warner Brothers to make Enter the Dragon. Hollywood production. American studio. Big budget. International distribution. That was Bruce's dream realized. Everything he'd predicted in his negotiation with Uncle Fong. Idée conquis Hong Kong. Now conquering Hollywood. Proving that Asian actor could be international star. When Bruce told Uncle Fong about the deal, he did something remarkable. He offered to end their partnership. Told Uncle Fong, our agreement was about Hong Kong films. Enter the Dragon is Hollywood production. You have no obligation to protect it. I have no obligation to pay you percentage from it. Our partnership has succeeded beyond what either of us expected. If you want to release me from agreement, take final payment, and let me go, I'll understand. You've earned that right through how you've protected me. I am grateful. If you want to continue partnership on new terms, I'm open to that too. But I'm giving you choice, honoring your investment in me by letting you decide our future. What did Uncle Fong choose? Chen's voice showed admiration. Uncle Fong told Bruce to keep his money. Told him partnership wasn't just about profit anymore. It was about pride, about backing right man, about being part of Bruce's success story. He said, keep your Hollywood money, make your Hollywood film, become international star. I don't need percentage from that. I have enough money. What I need is honor of saying I believed in you before anyone else. I invested in you when you were unknown. I partnered with you when you had nothing. That story, that legacy, that's worth more than money. Make me one promise. Remember where you started. Remember Hong Kong. Remember the people who believed in you. Do that, and we're even. Do that, and partnership is fulfilled. Bruce was moved by that. Deeply moved. He promised. And he kept that promise too. Chen paused for breath. Pain was visible on his face. Raymond asked again, "Do you need a rest?" "No," Chen said firmly. "I need to finish. Need to tell you about the end. About Bruce's death. About what Uncle Fong did after. That's important part. Maybe most important part. Please, let me continue." Raymond nodded. Chen gathered his strength. Continued. July 20th, 1973. I was at home. Late afternoon. Phone rang. Uncle Feng's lieutenant. He said, "Turn on the news. Bruce Lee is dead." I thought it was a mistake. Bruce was 32 years old. Peak of health. Peak of career. Enter the Dragon was about to be released. He had everything ahead of him. Couldn't be dead. But I turned on television. Every channel was reporting it. Bruce Lee dead in Hong Kong. Cerebral edema. Collapsed at actress Betty Ting Pei's apartment. Rushed to hospital. Died before doctors could save him. Gone. Just gone. Impossible, but true. Chen's voice broke slightly. I called Uncle Fong. Asked if he'd heard. He had. His voice sounded older than I'd ever heard it. Tired. Sad. He said, "Come to my office. We need to talk." I went immediately. When I arrived, Uncle Fong was sitting alone, looking out window, not doing business, not taking calls, just sitting, grieving. I'd never seen him like that. Never seen him affected by anyone's death. He'd order deaths. He'd witness deaths. He'd cause deaths. But Bruce's death, natural death, not violence, that affected him profoundly. "What did he say to you?" Chen remembered clearly. Uncle Fong said, "Bruce is dead. Our partner is gone. This is personal loss, not just business loss. In 40 years of this life, I've worked with thousands of people. Criminals, businessmen, politicians, actors, fighters. Bruce was best of them all. Only one who negotiated with me as equal and then proved he deserved that equality. Only one who kept every promise. Only one whose success made me proud instead of just richer. I'll miss him. Genuinely miss him. Not for what he gave me. For who he was. That's rare feeling for a man like me. To actually miss someone. To feel genuine loss. But that's what I feel. Bruce earned that. Earned being mourned. Earned being remembered as more than business partner. As friend. As honorable man." Chun continued. Then Uncle Fong gave orders. He said, "Bruce's family is under permanent protection. Linda, Brandon, Shannon, Grace. Anyone who threatens them, anyone who tries to exploit them, anyone who tries to take advantage of their grief, they answer to me personally. This isn't business anymore. This is honor." Bruce honored our agreement for 2 years. Even when he didn't have to. Even when he was too big to touch. He kept his word because his character demanded it. I honor his memory by protecting what he loved. His family. Make that clear to everyone. Bruce Lee's family is untouchable. Permanently. That protection continues until I die. And after I die, my successors will maintain it. That's my word. That's Bruce's legacy in our organization. Partner who earned permanent protection for his family through character and honor. Raymond was moved. Did Uncle Fong keep that promise? Absolutely, Chen said. Uncle Fong attended Bruce's funeral. Not publicly. That would have been inappropriate given Triad connection. But privately. He came early before crowds arrived. Paid respects. Stood before Bruce's casket. I was with him. I heard what he said. He said, "Thank you for keeping your word, Bruce. Thank you for showing me that partnership can create more value than domination. Thank you for being man of character in a world that values profit over honor. I'll protect your family. I'll honor your memory. I'll tell the story of our partnership to teach others that wisdom defeats force. Rest in honor, my friend. You earned it." Then he placed expensive wreath. Simple card that said, "To a partner and friend. Your word was your bond. May you rest in honor." That was all. Private grief. Private respect. Private acknowledgement of genuine loss. Chen's breathing was labored now. After funeral, Uncle Fong kept his word. Bruce's family protected absolutely. Linda received threats occasionally. People tried to extort her, trying to claim Bruce owed them money, try to exploit her grief. All those threats were dealt with. Quietly, efficiently, permanently. No one touched Linda Lee. No one touched Brandon or Shannon. No one touched Grace. They lived in Hong Kong safely for years after Bruce's death because Uncle Feng's protection was real, was absolute, was permanent. How long did that protection continue? Until Uncle Feng died, Chen said. 2003, he was 92 years old. Natural causes. Lived long life. Built empire. Earned respect. But one of his proudest achievements, something he talked about until end of his life, was partnership with Bruce Lee. Was his judgment in recognizing Bruce's potential before anyone else. Was his wisdom in partnering instead of dominating. Was his honor in protecting Bruce's family for 30 years after Bruce's death. That was legacy Uncle Feng wanted. Not feared gangster. Smart businessman who recognized talent and partnered with honorable man. That's how he wanted to be remembered. Chen closed his eyes. On his deathbed, Uncle Feng called me. I'd been with him 40 years by then. Retired from active criminal work, but still loyal. Still connected. He told me, tell the Bruce Lee story someday. When enough time has passed. When it won't endanger anyone. When telling it serves memory instead of exposing secrets. Tell how he negotiated with Gangster and turned enemy into protector. Tell how wisdom defeated power. Tell how keeping your word creates legacy that outlasts life. That's worth teaching. That's worth remembering. Wait for right time. Then tell the truth. I promised I would. I kept that promise silent for 16 more years. Waiting for right time. Until now. Until I'm dying and everyone involved is gone and truth can be told without endangering anyone. Raymond checked his recorder. Still running. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything to add? Chen opened his eyes. Looked directly at Raymond. I want people to understand what Bruce did. He faced impossible situation. Gangster demanding submission. Family at risk. Career threatened. He could have submitted, paid tribute, worked under contracts, become asset. Safe but dishonored. He could have fled, left Hong Kong, abandoned his career, protected his safety, but destroyed his dreams. He could have fought, refused to negotiate, challenged Uncle Feng, started war he couldn't win. All those options were available. All would have been understandable. But Bruce chose fourth option. Option nobody expected. He negotiated. As equal. Proposed partnership. Created mutual benefit where only domination seemed possible. That's strategic genius. That's wisdom. That's courage combined with intelligence. Chen's voice was passionate despite his weakness. Bruce walked alone into a room full of armed gangsters. Showed respect, but not submission. Demonstrated skill, but not arrogance. Offered value, but demanded dignity. Negotiated partnership that served both parties. Then, and this is critical, he kept his word. Every promise. Every percentage payment. Every gesture of respect. Even when success made him too big to need protection. Even when fame made him untouchable. Even when he could have abandoned partnership without consequences. He kept his word because character mattered more than convenience. That's why Uncle Feng protected his family for 30 years. That's why partnership lasted until death and beyond. That's why Bruce Lee's negotiation with Triads is worth remembering and teaching. Not because he worked with criminals, because he transformed potential enemies into lifelong protectors through character and wisdom. That's skill more valuable than fighting. That's legacy worth celebrating. Chen was exhausted now. Pale, breathing shallow, but peaceful, relieved. That's the story. That's the truth. That's what I witnessed and carried for 48 years. Now it's told. Now it's recorded. Now people can know that Bruce Lee wasn't just fighter, was negotiator, diplomat, strategic thinker, man who could create partnerships under pressure, man who kept his word absolutely, man who valued honor over convenience. That's who he was. That's what I saw. That's what I want remembered. Raymond turned off the recorder. Thank you, Chun. This is extraordinary testimony. Important history. I'll write it carefully, accurately. honoring both Bruce and Uncle Fong by telling truth exactly as you shared it. I promise you that. Chun smiled weakly. I know you will. That's why I called you. Rest now. Let me rest. I've done what I needed to do. Told the truth. Honored Bruce. Honored Uncle Fong. Honored the partnership that taught me wisdom can defeat force. I could die peaceful now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for recording. Thank you for ensuring this story survives me. Raymond packed his equipment. Thanked Chun. Left the hospital room. Chun lay in bed watching sunlight fade through the window. Peaceful. Unburdened. Ready. 2 weeks later, March 15th, 2019, Chun Weihan died. Age 78. Terminal lung cancer. His obituary was brief. Mentioned his past as Triad enforcer. Mentioned his retirement in 1997. Mentioned his memoir published in 2012. Didn't mention his final testimony about Bruce Lee. That would come from Raymond's article. Raymond Wong published the story 3 days after Chen's death. South China Morning Post. Front page. Triad enforcer's deathbed confession. How Bruce Lee negotiated with gangsters. Extensive article. 12,000 words. Every detail Chun had shared. Every quote. Every moment of the negotiation. Every aspect of the partnership. Everything Raymond had recorded in that hospital room on March 1st, 2019. The article went viral immediately. Shared globally within hours. Bruce Lee fans worldwide read it. Martial arts community discussed it. Film historians analyzed it. Hong Kong residents who'd lived through that era confirmed general outline. Former Triad members corroborated key details. The story spread across social media platforms. Was translated into dozens of languages. Was discussed on podcasts and YouTube channels. Was featured in documentaries. Became part of Bruce Lee's documented history. Reactions were mixed. Some celebrated the revelation. Said it showed Bruce's diplomatic genius. His strategic thinking. His ability to navigate dangerous situations through wisdom rather than violence. Said it added dimension to his legacy that was important and inspiring. Said negotiating with gangsters without submitting or becoming criminal was remarkable achievement. Said keeping his word for 2 years despite fame and success was testament to his character. Others criticized it. Said Bruce shouldn't have negotiated with criminals at all. Should have refused on principle. Should have left Hong Kong rather than partner with Triad organization. Said any relationship with Triads tainted his reputation. Said Raymond shouldn't have published the story. Said Chen's testimony was self-serving attempt at redemption. Said the whole thing glorified organized crime. But nobody disputed the central facts. Multiple sources confirmed Triad control of 1970s Hong Kong film industry. Confirmed actors paid tribute or worked under restrictive contracts. Confirmed Bruce Lee had unusual independence for actor working in that system. Historical records showed unusual profit-sharing arrangement between entities connected to Fong Daoming and Bruce's film production. Financial documents confirmed payments consistent with 20% partnership. Timeline matched Chen's testimony. Details checked out. The story was true. Shannon Lee released statement through Bruce Lee Foundation. This testimony reveals dimension of my father's life I didn't fully understand. He protected our family through wisdom and negotiation, not just through fighting ability. He turned potential enemies into protectors through character and strategic thinking. That's leadership. That's wisdom. That's the father I wish I'd known better. He faced impossible situation and found solution that honored his principles while protecting his family. That took courage and intelligence. I'm grateful to Mr. Chun for sharing this testimony before his death. Grateful for honoring my father's memory with truth. The story shows my father as a complete person. Fighter, yes, but also negotiator, strategist, diplomat. Someone who understood that real strength is finding solutions that serve everyone. That's legacy worth celebrating. Linda Lee Cadwell, Bruce's widow, gave rare interview about the revelation. She was 74 years old, hadn't spoken publicly about Bruce in years. But this story drew her out. She told reporters, I knew Bruce had complicated relationship with Hong Kong film industry. Knew there were powers behind the scenes. But Bruce protected me from details. Never told me about specific negotiation with Triad boss. Never told me about partnership arrangement. Just assured me we were safe, that his family was protected, that I shouldn't worry. Now I understand how he achieved that protection. Through negotiation that created mutual benefit. Through keeping his word absolutely. That's consistent with who Bruce was. Man of integrity. Man who valued his word. Man who kept his promises. I'm not surprised he negotiated successfully. I'm not surprised Gangster became his protector. Bruce had that effect on people. Made them want to be better. Want to honor him. Want to be worthy of partnership with him. That was his gift. Not just martial arts skill. Character that elevated everyone around him. The martial arts community debated the story extensively. Some instructors used it as teaching example. Showed that martial arts philosophy extends beyond fighting. That wisdom and strategy matter more than physical skill. That creating partnerships is more valuable than defeating enemies. That keeping your word builds legacy that outlasts life. Others were uncomfortable with Triad connection. Felt it complicated Bruce's image as hero. Felt it raised questions about ethics of negotiating with criminals. But most agreed the story showed Bruce's complete skill set. Fighting ability combined with negotiation skill. Physical courage combined with strategic thinking. Martial arts mastery combined with diplomatic wisdom. Business schools studied the negotiation. Used it as case study in creating win-win solutions under extreme pressure. Analyzed Bruce's approach. Identified key elements. Understanding what your opponent values. Offering genuine value in return. Demonstrating capability without arrogance. Proposing mutual benefit instead of accepting domination. Keeping your word absolutely to build trust. Treating partners with respect even when you don't need them anymore. These principles were applicable far beyond gangster negotiations. Applied to business, to diplomacy, to personal relationships, to any situation where power imbalance exists but partnership is possible. Conflict resolution programs incorporated the story. Used it to teach transformation of enemies into allies. Showed that even in seemingly impossible power dynamics, wisdom can create partnerships. That threatening opponent can become protective partner if interests align. That respect and character matter more than leverage. That keeping your word creates trust that transcends original agreement. Students analyzed what made Bruce's negotiation successful where others would fail. Identified courage, understanding, value creation, integrity, and respect as core components. Applied those lessons to modern conflicts. One conflict resolution expert wrote, Bruce Lee's negotiation with Uncle Fong demonstrates that power imbalance doesn't determine outcome. Bruce had no institutional power, no weapons, no army, just skill, confidence, and vision. Uncle Fong had overwhelming power, 10 armed men, hundreds more available, control over film industry. But Bruce didn't submit to power, didn't flee from it, didn't fight it directly. He transformed it into partnership by offering value Uncle Fong couldn't refuse, by demonstrating character Uncle Fong had to respect, by keeping his word in ways that built trust. That's genius negotiation. That's applicable to international diplomacy, to business conflicts, to personal disputes. Find mutual benefit. Demonstrate value. Keep your word. Transform enemies into allies. That's Bruce Lee's legacy beyond martial arts. Researchers at University of Hong Kong studied the partnership's economic impact. Calculated that Uncle Feng's 20% share of Bruce's Hong Kong films generated more revenue than exploitative model would have. Big Boss and Fist of Fury profits, even after paying Bruce, exceeded what tribute from 20 actors would generate. Partnership model was more profitable than domination model. That vindicated Uncle Feng's business decision. Showed wisdom wasn't just ethical, it was economically superior. Creating value through partnership generated more profit than extracting value through exploitation. The Golden Dragon restaurant, where the meeting had occurred, became minor tourist attraction. Fans of Bruce Lee visited, took photos. Imagine the negotiation that had happened there 48 years earlier. Restaurant owners initially resisted commercializing it, didn't want to glorify Triad history, but eventually they acknowledged historical significance. Placed small plaque. In September 1971, martial arts legend Bruce Lee met here with Hong Kong businessman Feng Daoming. Their negotiation demonstrated that wisdom and partnership can create mutual benefit where power and domination seem inevitable. This meeting changed Hong Kong film industry and established protection that allowed Bruce Lee to create films that influenced global cinema. Film historians analyzed how partnership affected Bruce's work, noted that Big Boss and Fist of Fury were made without interference. Bruce had complete creative control, could choreograph fights his way, could develop characters his way, could tell stories that challenged stereotypes. That freedom, guaranteed by partnership with Uncle Feng, allowed Bruce to create films that revolutionized martial arts cinema. Without that protection, Bruce might have been forced into restrictive contracts, might have been controlled by producers, might have been sabotaged by competitors. Partnership gave him freedom. Freedom created great art. Great art changed cinema history. Some former Triad members came forward after the story published, confirmed Chen's general account, said Uncle Feng had indeed partnered with Bruce Lee, had protected him absolutely, had profited substantially, had been proud of association. One former 14K lieutenant said, Uncle Feng talked about Bruce Lee until he died, talked about the negotiation, talked about Bruce keeping his word, talked about how partnership created more value than exploitation. Uncle Feng used Bruce as example to teach us about business, about finding mutual benefit, about valuing character over short-term gain. Bruce influenced how our organization operated, made us think about partnerships instead of just tribute. That influence lasted decades, changed how we did business. That's Bruce Lee's impact we don't talk about publicly, but it was real. It mattered. Historical consensus formed around Chen's testimony. Academics and journalists agreed the story was substantially true. Details were corroborated by multiple sources. Timeline matched documented events. Financial arrangements were confirmed through records. The partnership had existed, had functioned as Chen described, had protected Bruce and profited Uncle Feng, had ended only with Bruce's death, had resulted in 30-year protection of Bruce's family. This was history, not legend. This was documented fact, not rumor. But questions remained. Some asked, was Bruce morally compromised by partnering with Triad organization? Should he have refused on principle? Should he have left Hong Kong rather than negotiate with criminals? Others responded, easy to judge from safety and distance. Bruce faced real danger, real threats to family, real career destruction. He found solution that protected everyone while maintaining integrity. Didn't become criminal, didn't participate in Triad activities, just negotiated protection in exchange for profit sharing. That's pragmatic survival, not moral failure. The debate continued, but underneath it was recognition. Bruce Lee had navigated impossible situation with wisdom and courage, had created partnership where only domination seemed possible, had kept his word when convenience suggested breaking it, had valued honor over expedience, had protected family through intelligence rather than just violence. That was a complete picture of who Bruce was. Fighter, yes, but also strategist, negotiator, diplomat, man who understood power and how to navigate it without being corrupted by it. In 2020, 1 year after Chen's testimony was published, documentary filmmaker interviewed everyone still living who'd been connected to the story. Interviewed Raymond Wong about recording Chen's confession. Interviewed Shannon Lee about learning this dimension of her father's life. Interviewed former Golden Harvest executives about the unusual freedom Bruce had enjoyed. Interviewed former Triad members who confirmed the protection. Compiled all testimony into comprehensive documentary, The Dragon's Negotiation, Bruce Lee and the Triads. The documentary was balanced, showed both admiration for Bruce's wisdom and acknowledgement of moral complexity, showed both the danger of Triad-controlled industry and the pragmatism of Bruce's solution, showed both the partnership's success and questions about negotiating with criminals. Let viewers judge for themselves, but emphasized one undisputed fact. Bruce Lee had faced impossible situation and found solution that protected his family, preserved his integrity, and allowed him to create films that changed cinema history. That was achievement worth documenting and studying. The final sequence of the documentary showed Chun Wei-han's grave. Simple headstone, just name and dates. No mention of Triad history. No mention of crimes committed. But narrator noted, Chun Wei-han spent 50 years as criminal enforcer. Hurt people, destroyed lives. But his final act, his deathbed testimony about Bruce Lee, gave us gift. Gift of truth. Gift of understanding how complicated figure navigated complicated world. Gift of lesson about wisdom defeating power and character creating legacy. Chun can't undo his crimes. Can't bring back people he hurt. But he could tell truth. Could share story that teaches valuable lessons. Could honor man he respected by ensuring that man's wisdom is remembered and celebrated. That's small redemption, but it's something. And it's gift to all of us who learn from it. The documentary concluded with Shannon Lee reflecting on her father's legacy. My father is remembered as martial artist, as actor, as philosopher, as revolutionary who changed how Asian people were portrayed in cinema. All true, all important. But this story, this negotiation with Uncle Fong, this shows another dimension. Shows my father as complete person who faced real-world problems with wisdom and courage, who protected family through intelligence, who created partnerships under pressure, who kept his word absolutely, who valued honor over convenience. That's the father I'm proud of. Not perfect man who never faced moral complexity, but wise man who navigated complexity without losing integrity. That's harder. That's more valuable. That's a legacy that teaches us how to live in an imperfect world while maintaining our values. Thank you to Mr. Chun for ensuring that story survives, for honoring my father by telling truth, for teaching us all that wisdom and character matter more than power and force. 5 years after Chen's death, the Bruce Lee Foundation established new program, the Partnership Initiative, Leadership Through Wisdom and Collaboration. The program taught negotiation, conflict resolution, and partnership building using Bruce's negotiation with Uncle Fong as case study. Students studied what Bruce did, how he prepared, how he demonstrated value, how he proposed mutual benefit, how he kept his word, then applied those lessons to modern conflicts, business disputes, community tensions, international diplomacy, personal relationships, any situation where power imbalance exists but partnership is possible. The program was successful, helped hundreds of people transform potential conflicts into productive partnerships. That was Bruce's legacy extended, his wisdom applied, his lesson taught to new generations. The story of Bruce Lee and Uncle Fong became part of cultural understanding, part of how people thought about negotiation, part of how they approach conflicts, part of how they understood that enemies can become allies through wisdom and respect. It wasn't just martial arts history anymore. It was business case study, diplomatic example, leadership lesson, universal teaching about human possibility. Chun Wei-han's final testimony had accomplished what he hoped, had honored Bruce Lee by revealing his complete capabilities, had taught lesson about wisdom defeating force, had shown that keeping your word creates legacy that outlasts life, had demonstrated that even criminals can recognize character and honor it, had proven that complicated relationships can serve good purposes if built on genuine mutual benefit. The Triad enforcer and the martial arts legend, the gangster and the hero, the partnership that shouldn't have worked but did, the negotiation that transformed enemies into protectors, the wisdom that created value where only domination seemed possible, the character that kept promises when convenience suggested breaking them, the legacy that survived death and continues teaching decades later. That's the story. The truth Chun Wei-han carried for 48 years and finally shared on his deathbed. The secret that became history. The partnership that became legend. The negotiation that became lesson for anyone facing impossible situations where wisdom might create solutions force cannot achieve. Bruce Lee walked alone into a room full of gangsters, turned threat into alliance, transformed enemy into protector, created partnership that lasted until death and beyond. Did it through courage, wisdom, and character. Kept his word absolutely. Honored agreement that others would have broken. Protected family through intelligence rather than just violence. Built legacy that teaches timeless lessons about how to navigate power, how to create value, how to transform conflicts into collaborations. That's who Bruce Lee was. Complete person, fighter and negotiator, warrior and diplomat, physical master and strategic genius. Man who understood that real strength isn't defeating enemies. It's making enemies irrelevant by creating partnerships that serve everyone. A Triad enforcer told this story on his deathbed. He said Bruce Lee was the only man his boss ever feared. But that wasn't quite right. Uncle Fong didn't fear Bruce. He respected him, valued him, honored him, became his partner and protector. Not through fear, but through recognition of character worth partnering with. Worth protecting, worth honoring even after death. That's the truth. That's the legacy. That's the lesson. Wisdom defeats power. Character creates partnerships. Keeping your word builds trust. Respect transforms enemies. Courage faces threats directly. Intelligence finds solutions force cannot. Partnership creates more value than domination. Bruce Lee proved all of that in one negotiation on one evening in September 1971. And the proof survived. In Chun Wei-han's testimony. In Uncle Fang's 30-year protection of Bruce's family. In a partnership that succeeded beyond what either man expected. In a lesson that continues teaching. In a story that finally, after 48 years of silence, can be told. Now you know. Now the world knows. Now Bruce's complete legacy is understood. Fighter, yes, but so much more. Negotiator, strategist, diplomat, partner, man of honor who kept his word, man of wisdom who created solutions, man of courage who faced threats with intelligence rather than just violence. That's Bruce Lee. That's the story. That's the truth Chun Wei-han gave his last breath to share. May both men rest in honor. May their story teach wisdom. May their partnership inspire others to create value where only conflict seems possible. The dragon negotiated. The gangster became protector. The partnership created legend. The lesson lives on.